Hello everyone. RV Educational Institutions, Shivananda Sarma Memorial RV College, Video Lectures and ISR Initiative. In the connection to the same, I, Professor Divya N. of Department of Business Administration, has posted a video on APA formatting and style for writing research articles. Kindly watch the video till the end, like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. All of us know that research is very important to be presented well. If the research is done right but it is not presented well, then the solution found out by the research will not be used by anyone and the conduction of the entire research process will go in waste. So it is very much necessary to follow a particular format to present the research, that is in the research report or a research paper or an research article. The format we are going to discuss today is APA format, that is a format of writing reports given by an American Psychological Association. This particular format is very well known in the research industry. Though there are many formats available in the market, people use APA format for its three unique factors, which are stylistics, reference, and in-text citations. In deep, APA style is a writing style and format for academic documents such as scholarly journal, articles, and books. This particular format is described in the Style Guide of American Psychological Association, which is titled the Publication Manual of the same association. Stylistics refers to the format in which the article must be edited or the article must be presented to the readers. It includes the grammatical requirements, it talks about the language that must be used, the tonal style, then the way the sentences are supposed to be formed. To mention few, one must use personal pronouns wherever it is appropriate. For example, instead of we conducted an experiment, the authors can use the authors conducted an experiment. The same way, instead of active voice, one must use the passive voice. For example, instead of mentioning it as we asked participants the question, the authors can say it, the participants have been asked the questions by the researcher. Stylistics also mentions about how the language must be used in writing the paper. The language must be clear, wherein the descriptions and explanations must be specific to the research objectives. Then the language must concise the information which is being said. Then the language must be plain, wherein it must be simple and it must describe the objectives, and it also has to minimize figurative language. In-text citations talk about the sources from which the references or the data is been taken from, and through this the authors mentioned keywords can also attract more and more readers who are interested in the same sort of research. Under APA style, the researchers or the author's last name and the year of publication must be mentioned as the in-text citation. It must also include the page number. On screen, one can see how in real the in-text citation will be presented in a research paper. So the author name, the year in which the research paper has been published, from which the information is taken from, or which act as a source of information for the present research, then the page number must be mentioned for in-text citation to be done. The third unique thing about APA style of writing is the way the references are styled or mentioned in research paper. The style suggests authors to use a reference list for references cited in the text of a paper rather than a bibliography. And it also mentions what all should be included, that is, only those references which were actually cited in the text of one's paper. The style also mentions few things that must be kept in mind while complying a reference list. That is, the references must be in a sequence, there must be right punctuation and spacing, there must be capitalization of the words, and the words must be underlined. On screen we can see how is it being presented. So references must be mentioned in the center and the word must be in bold. Then there must be an indent, that is the author or the reference must begin with the capital letter, and the spacing must be double spaced, and any given point of time references must be on the page number 5. Up next, let us look into some of the general guidelines as given by the APA style. That is, the research must be typed. The entire research article must have a double spaced between the paragraphs. The research paper must be printed on a standard sized paper, that is 8.5 into 11 inches. At most cases, they are the A4 size papers. Then the margins on all sides must be 1 inch. The font size to be used in preparing the paper must be 10 to 12 points. The font style to be kept in mind is Times New Roman or a similar font style. There must be a header in all the pages which will have the paper title on the left hand side and the page number on the right hand side. The different parts of the research paper or the major sections of the research paper will have 4 things, that is the title of the paper, abstract, main body, and at the end the references list. On screen we could see that how a title page is supposed to be presented. So this particular title page is for professional paper writers, that is other than students. So they have followed all the guidelines as we discussed earlier, that is 1 inch margin on all the sides, the title of the research article on the left header, then the page number on the right side of the header. So the entire header is also called as running head, which must be seen in all the pages of the entire article. Below that, one must type the title of the paper, which must be bolded and it must be placed in the center of the sheet. Below the title, the author detail must be given. If there are multiple authors, then all the co-authors details also must be mentioned. The guidelines for that is also very similar. The author's name and details must be in center of the sheet. The spacing between every sentence must be the double space. The font style to be followed is Times New Roman and the font size is number 12. As mentioned earlier, running head is basically a page header at the top of every page. To make this process easier, one can set their processor to automatically add these components onto each page. So one has to look at for header feature to get this done. And what will it include? It will include only 2 things, that is title of the paper on the left hand side, page number on the right hand side. After the research title page, it is the abstract. So abstract is nothing but summary about the entire research paper. This also acts as a preface in most of the academic books or other books, wherein reading the gist of whatever is mentioned, the reader will decide either to go ahead and read the entire research article or does it interest him or not. Hence, an abstract is a summary of the scholarly article or the scientific study. As the scholarly articles and studies are rather lengthy documents, and abstracts allow readers to first determine if they would like to read an article in its entirety or not. Here is the example of an abstract where we can see running head, which has an header with title and the page number, then the word abstract bolded and centered, then the paragraph, that is the summary of the entire research article, which must be in one single paragraph. Do not indent, that is you don't have to capitalize every word. Then the maximum or the words that is supposed to be used in the entire must be between 150 to 200, and the rest of the guidelines is remain the same regarding to the double space, Times New Roman font style and font size 12. It also mentions that all abbreviations and important acronyms used in the paper should be defined here, and at the end there must be an indent given about the key words which will give readers the information about what the research is about. Up next, the page number 3 will be body of the paper. It must begin with the running head. Below to that, the title of the paper, which must be in center. The text must be in with double spaced and all the sections follow into one another without any break. And one must also mention the in-text citations about the information that is taken by existing sources. Then the body of the paper must also include all the format tables which will be containing the data used in the research, and also the figures which is used by the authors to represent the information. Here is the sample of the body of a research paper, and the 3 divisions or 3 things to be mainly shown in body of the paper is an introduction about the research, the method used in collection of data, and representing the results or the outcomes of a particular research, probably using a table or figure or even words. Even at this stage, the earlier discussed guidelines must be followed with regards to the running head, the font style, font size, etc. APA style of research writing also gives guidelines about writing the headings and subheadings at 5 different levels, where level 1 is the title of the paper, which must be centered in the middle of the page. It must be in bold, and uppercase and lowercase letters are necessary, or the title must be in capitalization. Level 3 headings also must be placed on the left side of the margin. The letters must be in bold. Both uppercase and lowercase letters can be used wherever it is necessary, and at the end of the heading, the punctuation of period must be used. Level 4 is very much similar to level 3, but it acts as a subheading to level 3 heading, where the guidelines are very much similar to level 3. That is, the heading must be intended from the left margin. It must be bolded. Both uppercase and lowercase letters can be used wherever it is necessary, and it must also end with the period sign. Whereas level 5 talks about the sub-concepts that is discussed under the subheadings, which also must be intended from the left margin. It must be bolded and also italicized, and both must end with the period sign again. Up next, let's discuss about some guidelines regarding using of graphics, that is the tables and figures to represent data in the research article. All graphics, whether they are tables, photographs or drawings, must be numbered. The first graphic labeled as 1 should be the first one mentioned in the text. Follow them in appropriate numerical order in which they appear in the text of your paper. Example, figure 1, figure 2, table 1, table 2, figure 3, table 4, etc. The other guidelines is regarding to presentation of table is the number of the table must be left aligned and they must be bold. The title of the table must be left aligned and they must be italicized. All the headings of the table columns must be centered. Only the first column data or elements must be left aligned. Rest of the columns data must be aligned in center. If the data mentioned in the table is from a secondary source, then there must be a note given which says from which particular source the data has been taken, and the link of the same must be copy pasted, and the word note must be given on the left alignment and the word must be italicized. Hope everybody gets benefited from the information that we have discussed and present more and more number of papers to the research field. Thank you for watching.